So, episode 2 of TeaTalks, Duchess with Sarah. Now, it was better. And I've got to say, I really love their theme music because it's very Miss Marple and very villagey, and it sort of really sets the tone. So that's really good. They didn't waffle on as much. They seemed to be more scripted and sort of more careful about how they ran things. They seemed to know what each other was going to say, and Sarah didn't babble on as much. She was told to put a sock in it, obviously. But it opened up with them talking about the weather, which was a little bit boring. And then they sort of went into Sarah Thomson saying that she had a barbecue and she made chicken satay, and a couple came over. Excuse me, I just drifted off. And they were celebrating his golf score. And anyway, you get the idea. It wasn't that scintillating. But then Sarah Thomson said, look, my awful notes, my awful writing, aren't they awful? It's just a scrawl. She said, I've got to put my glasses on so I can read my own writing. I love being in Spain and I love my villa. And then when she said that, Duchess Sarah sort of made a bit of a even point about it and said, oh, when you say things like that, you've got to warn us and say posh talk, posh talk. Oh, it's just so bad. And it's really, really annoying. And I don't know who they think they're talking to, because the posh talk thing, it didn't come across as fun. It came across as really sort of, I don't know. It was just really, really annoying. I wasn't jealous or anything. Like, I'm happy that they had a nice time, but it's not that. I don't know what it is. It's just the posh talk. I don't know. It just seems so tone deaf. And I can't figure out who they think is listening unless they're only making the podcast for their friends. Maybe they're making the podcast just for their friends. That would explain it. And then, of course, Sarah had to get all sad again. And I really think that the production team need to have a cue card where they have a really sad face with a cross through it. And every time Sarah, Duchess of York, goes into her real sad routine, they need to just hold it up and remind her. Because, well, to be fair, she had just been to a funeral of a dear friend. So I suppose that excuses it. But she said about doing the podcast, she said, it's allowed me to get out of my own way and to stop thinking about myself. So I don't think she was talking about the funeral. I think she was talking about herself again. And she said, it's fun to talk about other things. It's okay to play. I thought, oh, please don't talk about playing again. Then she finished off that little bit with the head above the parapet again. The bloody parapet, excuse my swearing, but get off the parapet. Sarah, please get off the parapet. In episode 3, don't stick your head above the parapet, please. And then she said 50% liked me or 50% didn't. I don't know how she knew that. Maybe she took a poll. But then she got on to some good stuff. Now, this is the good stuff. She talked about her new grandchild, Ernest George Ronnie, and that was nice, and she shed a tear, and it was sweet, and it was lovely. And then she said how beautiful Beatrice looked at the wedding in Jordan, and she did. And then she told a really interesting story about the York tiara. And she said that when she went up the aisle towards Prince Andrew, I nearly said Prince Edward, Prince Andrew, that she had gardenias threaded through the tiara. So she was going up the country girl and the natural sort of farmy girl, Fergie sort of thing. And then when she'd signed the register, that they were picking all the gardenias out of her tiara before she came back out, so that when she went back down the aisle, she was the princess, which is lovely. It's a lovely idea. It is. I thought that was very creative and very artistic, and it was an interesting insight into a little bit of her wedding. Then there was more posh chat, the Bahamas, and Duchess Sarah, losing her Rolex off a yacht. Lots of yachts, isn't there? Lots of yachts. Wonder whose yacht it was. Sarah in the Bahamas. and a friend had just given her a Rolex, and she dove off the yacht to rescue the Rolex. Wonder whose yacht it was. Did Jeffrey Epstein have something off in the Bahamas or something? I don't know. Now, this is the juicy bit, which I hope you've lasted to this point, because this is the juicy bit. Sarah, Duchess of York, brought up about Jeremy Clarkson's article about Philip Schofield, and she was full of praise, very complimentary about Jeremy Clarkson. And I just wondered, are they friends with are her daughters friends with the Sussexes still? Because I don't imagine if Beatrice and Eugenie was still friendly with Meghan, that Sarah would be so tone deaf as to bring up about Jeremy Clarkson, even though she was talking about a different article than the one, that Jeremy Clarkson had to apologise profusely for with the Game of Thrones analogy. It just seems a bit weird that she would risk bringing it up about Jeremy Clarkson. And then she went on, and I'm not going to go into the Philip Schofield thing because I know probably like me that you're up to the back teeth with that one. But she went in and she said, oh yes, the court of public opinion being very harsh, because Jeremy Clarkson's article was about the fact that we always have to remember that we shouldn't pile on people because there's a human at the end of the criticism. Well, I don't think you remembered that, Jeremy, in some of your writing. I actually like Jeremy Clarkson because I watch Clarkson's Farm with my son, and I know he's awfully bad behaved and everything, and he can be a bit boorish and everything, but there's just something about him that entertains me. I don't know what it is. Although when they do these really violent things on the farm, I look through my hands like that because I'm not much of a farmer myself. But getting back to this, Sarah said, yes, the court of public opinion, a court of massive bullying to the extent of the extermination of the soul. Okay. And then she sort of had a religious epiphany and she said, forgive them for they know not what they say. Now, that quote seems a little familiar to me. But Sarah's managed to change it a little and use it for her own ends. I thought that was interesting. And then Sarah Thomson talks about yummy puppy mummies, about these young yuppie puppy mummy. I can't. I'm losing all energy. I cannot go on. Oh, there was an interesting bit before I go and put you out of your misery. Sarah, Duchess of York, Sarah said that she's always wanted to be in a Hallmark movie. And I've just done the video on Meghan Markle and the rules that I looked at, and, the Data's Handbook from Meghan Markle was a Hallmark movie. And I thought, well, look, Sarah, you can just go over to Melodramasito and ask Meghan for her contacts, because if that's your lifelong dream to be in a Hallmark movie, you have an in now, darling. You have contacts. You have LA contacts. You could be in a Hallmark movie. Oh, and then they said, we need more humour, But this was right at the end of the episode, they said that. Like they were closing out. They were saying goodbye. And then they said, we need more humour, And then, in case we didn't know, they said, we're very funny. We're very, very funny. And we laugh a lot. Oh, please, girls. Please, I beg of you, get a guest. Please, for episode 3, we need a guest. I'm going to be reviewing every podcast because it's so bad, it's so annoying that it's good. And I'm just saying that so you watch my reviews. Okay, I'll see you again very soon. Bye.